What's up? What's up? What's up? What up, people? How we feeling tonight? Come on, let me know how you feeling tonight, people. Come on, let me know. Let me know what the vibes are at home right now. Let me know what the vibes are at home. Feel free to throw it in the chat. What you're doing right now? If you're eating something, if you're sipping on something, let me know. Let me know. Throw it in the chat right now. What vibe you got going on for this edition of De La Spurs Live? I would love to know. Listen, we got a lot to get into today. Well, actually, quite the opposite. I'm sorry. We don't have a whole lot to get into today. We only got like some rumors coming out regarding some of the transfer business that will be occurring. Also going to take a look back at some of the statements from that because of the inquiries and statements that have come out about some of the signings we'll be making this summer. So we're going to be reviewing that. Before we get into everything, though, everybody go ahead, take a moment. Give yourselves a round of applause, please. You deserve it. You made it here. June 2026, halfway through the 2026 calendar year. And you're here watching De La Spurs Live. So go ahead, give yourselves a round of applause, please. I know I appreciate you. If nobody hasn't told you that today, let De La Spurs tell you that right now. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you do. Come on now. Come on. All right, man, let's get into it. Let's not waste any more time on this long intro. What's up, folks? It is De La Spurs Live. I'm coming to you back for another edition of the live stream show. Listen, we're coming to you live, De La Spurs studio. It is June 1st. June 1st, like I said, halfway through the calendar year. All right, halfway through the calendar year. I hope your years are going well. Whatever New Year's resolutions you made before January or on January, I want to know how those are going for you. So feel free to let me know in the chat how your year is going so far. Have you hit the goals? Are you close to hitting your goals? This is the halfway mark. This is the checkpoint. You know what I'm saying? Just checking in with you. Just letting you know. I just want to know how you're doing, really. So feel free to throw that in the live stream as well. Or I should say in the live chat. Even if you're watching on the playback, throw that in the playback chat. I want to know how y'all are feeling going halfway through the calendar year. It hasn't even really felt like it, to be quite honest. But that's time for you, man. Time has been flying, especially when you've been busy getting this work done, hitting your goals. So feel free to throw down in the live chat how you're feeling about hitting the halfway mark of the year. As well, while you're at it, go ahead, drop a like on this live stream for me, folks. I would really appreciate it when you do. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Go ahead and do that for me as well. Hit the notification bell when you subscribe so you can get my posts when I'm going live on YouTube. I usually post on YouTube when I'm going live. So go ahead, add me on YouTube. You can also follow me on X. That's also in the description down below. You can follow me, see what I'm talking about. I was replying to a couple of tweets today, liking stories, retweeting stories, following stuff while gathering my material for tonight. So if you kind of want to be ahead of the ball game, see where De La Spurs is at before I even go on the live, you can follow me on X. You can see some of my activity there. Feel free to share the stream with a loved one, friend, co-worker, businessman, client, mentor, mentee, apprentice, whoever you feel like sharing this Tottenham content with. Or even if they're not a Tottenham fan, you're just into the soccer content, let me know and share this with a friend. Listen, we trying to hit 10 subscribers, folks. 10 subscribers. We're at 9 right now. So hit that subscribe button, please, so we can go ahead and hit 10. Hit the benchmark for this summer. Listen, my benchmark for this summer was 10. All right. We got a group of people that subscribe. So we're only one away. We're only one away. We're just now hitting June. It's just now June 1st. So go ahead. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so we can go ahead and up what that goal will be for the summer. We can go ahead and make it 15, but 10 was the goal of the summer. That's all I wanted, especially starting out at 0. You know what I'm saying? Especially starting out at 0. If we can hit 10 by the summer, woo, that feel great. So go ahead, subscribe to the YouTube as well so we can go ahead and hit that benchmark. Listen, folks, like I said before, we're going to be kind of talking about today, and as you can see in the title as well, our promises being kept. All right. Are Tottenham keeping the promise to their fans about learning their lessons from past 2 seasons, finishing 17th, the investment in the club, the style of play, all the shenanigans that happened around that as well. The board, Charrington, right? The non-executive board member, Enoch, the family themselves, the brothers and sisters that run this club have put out a statement. You also have a statement from De Zerbi, not necessarily saying his was a statement of how next season is going to go, but he's been talking about what he wants from this team and how he wants to get it. So are the people in charge of Tottenham going into next season keeping their promises to us fans? Now, the reason why I asked that question is some pretty surprising stories have come out today. Like I said, if you followed me on X, you probably see some of the stories I was retweeting. We're going to get to those stories to see why I'm asking that question and to see if, again, the promises are being upheld by the club. But to do that, I think we need to look at the club statement. So I'm going to pull up the club statement here. Hold on, let me get this pulled up. Got the club statement pulled up here. All right, and we're just going to kind of go through it. Again, I'm just going to read through this. I'm not going to try to go in depth on each paragraph like I did before, but just to serve as a reminder, right? Serve as a reminder for some of y'all. Listen, some of y'all may not be the best readers. I get that. It's okay. I don't like reading either. So I'm going to go ahead and read this for you. Listen, to the fans. As owners of 25 years, we have lived the highs and lows of Spurs with you, finishing 17th. This and last season does not reflect the stature or potential of this football club. We are bitterly disappointed and share your frustration. You and we expect more than this. We know that this must never happen again. Our approach to running the club is and has been to trust the experts to do that while backing them to be successful. The problems we found were deeper than we realized, and we were allowed to build over the last few years. And we're allowed to build over the last few years. We know that has eroded trust, and we have to win that back. As owners, we take ultimate responsibility for the situation in which the club finds itself. We also take responsibility for rebuilding Spurs, taking responsibility for rebuilding the club. Our ambition is to recapture the spirit of the club and bring back the excitement, the fearlessness, and the bold football we have always felt defined us. That means football comes first. The board and executive team have laid out their plans to meet this ambition. Key line here, if you could put a star or an asterisk by that line, we're going to go back to that line. The board and executive team have laid out their plans to meet this ambition. This will require investment in our teams, the academy, our backroom functions, and more. And we are fully committed to this. Put another asterisk by that. Put another star by that sentence. We are not selling the club. We are all in. We are investing in it. You will see more of this in the coming months. We care deeply about Spurs, the rebuild of the club, what the rebuild the club needs, and you deserve has begun. The change required is deep. It will take time and commitment, but change is happening. Change is coming, folks. We know that actions will speak louder than words. The Lewis family. So this is a statement coming directly from the brothers and sisters that run this club. Listen, key statements I want to take away from this. And again, I'm not trying to go in depth in every paragraph like I did before. The board and executive team have laid out their plans to meet this ambition, right? First thing, board and executive team. All right. So the board and the executive team. Does that include the manager? I don't hear the manager in that sentence. So you talk about laying out a plan with the board and the executive team, right? This is the same board and executive team that has been around not only for the past 2 seasons, but that same board has more than likely been around pretty much the last decade here at Spurs, in which we've seen some progression, but also major regression. So the reason why I said that is because, one, ultimately, I think most important, the manager should be involved in that. When you're talking about trusting a manager, especially like De Zerbi, with the quote unquote rebuild of the club, right? He needs to be a part of who's being brought in, who's being put out, and what the style development of that play will look like throughout the whole tenure. Now, of course, the board and executive team need to have an ethos for the club, and ultimately that should lead the hiring decisions they make. So whether or not the sporting director fits within that ethos, whether the coaches and the backroom staff fit within that ethos, whether the manager themselves fit within that ethos, and most importantly, whether the players themselves out there on the field running around fit that ethos. And the fact that, again, I don't see any manager being a part of that makes me worry as a fan because, again, we've seen this board and quote-unquote executive team be in charge of decision-making at this club for a while now. And we haven't hit the highs that we've wanted to hit. Yes, we won a Europa League, of course, but then you're talking about making two or three finals in the last 10, 15 years is simply not good enough. Not good enough. The second statement we said we were going to start, this will require investment in our teams, the academy, our backroom functions, and more. And we are fully committed to this. So the reason why I wanted to highlight this, and this will tie in to some of the stories that I was seeing today on Spurs Twitter / social media, right? But the reason why I thought this sentence was so important is investment. This will require investment. Just that first part, require investment. Not saying that they want to invest. Ideally, a good amount of investment will lead to good No, they said this is required. Meaning from this, whether the plan is to try to get into top 6 next season, get into the top 10, or just finish above 17th, the board and the executive team have stated this will require investment. And where is that investment going? To our teams, the academy, backroom functions, and more. Most importantly, with teams being the first one, and hopefully the men's team being the most important in that. Sorry, ladies. Not necessarily saying the women's team is not important. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I watched the men's team. All right, the men's team, I think, is the face of the club. So I'm sure they put an S at the end of teams, right? So I'm sure they're talking about teams of all genders, all whatever. But the men's team is ideally the most important. And they put teams first in this statement, I think, for a reason, right? I don't want to say this is just some chat GPT stuff, right? Some AI stuff. Hopefully this is a statement written from pen to paper. No, I'm sorry, from head to heart to pen to paper by the Enoch family. Hopefully AI was not involved with this. They didn't put in some prompt. They got onto chat GPT or whatever, got the app or got the website and just say, oh, hey, what's some good BS to feed fans when you piss them off for the last decade? Or what do you tell Premier League fans of a top 16 when you finish 17th in 2 seasons in a row? And go. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully this is some real words. But like I said, they put teams first, I think, for a reason. And I think ultimately they're trying to say or to promise us fans, right, that they're going to invest in this team. Not only that they're promising us this, This is required. It is required for Tottenham to progress that they invest in the teams, the academy, backroom functions, and more. So I just wanted to go over the club statement again. Again, this is from the Enoch family themselves. Brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles, nephews, daughters, granddaughters, whoever the Enoch family is or the Lewis family is, this is what they put in this statement. This is what they came up with to promise to us fans after a season to finish 17th that they're for real this time. They want our trust. They want our backing. And not only do they want it, they're willing to earn it through the required investment in trusting the backroom and executive team to what is it? To trust the experts, the executive, the board, and the experts to be successful and to back them while doing it, right? So I just wanted to go over that statement just so we're all clear what has been said. I didn't say this. This isn't fan sentiment that's just been passed around through the telephone. This isn't some random player coming out and saying all this. This is coming from the Lewis family themselves. So you're probably asking, well, Sheldon, De La Spurs, what does this have to do with anything? Well, it has a lot to do with this. Now, on top of that statement of saying this will require investment, a little rumor came out about a specific player, Ben Davies, who's been at Tottenham for more than a decade at this point. And that Ben Davies, at his big age, will be signed to a contract extension at Tottenham. Now, hold on. I'm not going to lie. I spelled extension wrong. Here we go. I spelled extension wrong the first time, so I'm not a reader either. But at Ben Davies' big age, the club is considering a contract extension. Now, there's been some thought into what is behind the reasoning of offering an extension to Ben Davies. Now, the very surface level thoughts a lot of fans have, if you go and check the comments on this, right, is, Ben Davies, he's been a loyal servant to the club. He's done whatever he's been asked to do. And whenever he's asked to do it, he puts his full heart into it. Yes, he doesn't deliver the 8 out of 10s, 9 out of 10s, 10 out of 10 performances, but he comes in, is solid for us when we need him, and always there and willing to be there when we don't. So a lot of fans are saying, just on the surface level, I get why we are extending Ben Davies. He's been so loyal. He's been so nice to us. We have to give him an extension just for that. Looking a little bit deeper, though, right? For fans like me and some of you that are watching that like to dig a little bit deeper than that surface level, why do you think Ben Davies was signed to an extension, or that is rumored to sign to an extension? Now, there's some fans under the belief that similar to how certain jobs will kind of pay for your training, will kind of give you a grace period. Say you want to go back to college and receive a higher level of education, a master's degree, right? For example, some workplaces will pay for that. Some workplaces will allow you to put your work on hold while you go to school, as long as you promise to come back and work for an equivalent amount of time or equivalent amount of money of how much that schooling cost. So some fans may think that, hey, the contract extension may be for a player contract, but Ben Davies is not going to play. He's going to be getting his coaching badges. He's going to be learning about the backroom staff. He's pretty much going to be an apprentice to coaching, all the stuff that goes in the background. So once he's finally done as a player, he can step into a role overseeing the players, overseeing the coaches, overseeing the backroom staff. Hell, he might be someone that connects the men's team to the boardroom up top, are some of the executive members or these quote unquote experts that make the decision making at this club. So, regardless of whatever you think the position may be or the title of the position, there's a certain fan narrative, and I believe this too, right? I think it's a dumb move, but I think they are doing this to try to have Ben Davies around at the club for as long as possible to absorb as much information about coaching, backroom staffs, to get his coaching badges, in hope that one day he will be able to come back to Tottenham as a staff member, not as a player, but as a staff member to assist with whatever's going on. And I'm sure with Tottenham's history, right, the history of Tottenham, I'm sure Ben Davies will be coming back and will be needed in some sort of coaching role, because we're either going to have a manager with a team of coaches that will be leaving, and going, as well as once that manager does leave, we're going to need an interim. And with Tottenham's history of using Ryan Mason as an interim manager, a former player for Tottenham who's been around for a while, learned the backroom stuff, got his coaching badges, learned his coaching stuff, and was able to take in as an interim, as a caretaker manager, right? I imagine that Tottenham would love for Ben Davies to come in a similar role. I'm sure Tottenham fans would love for Ben Davies to come into a similar role. So could this extension be simply a way to keep Ben Davies around the squad, around the team, at the club, while he's getting all this background knowledge and absorbing it? Now, I believe this to a certain extent, that is the reason why they want to sign Ben Davies to an extension. But there's also a part of me that knows, with the history of Tottenham and what we do, this nigga is going to play. He's going to play football here. At his big age of, 34, 35, 36, he's still going to be playing here at Tottenham. He's still going to get playing time. How do I know that? The history of Tottenham, right? With the history of Tottenham, how many injury crises, especially in the past 5 years, have we had where we're seeing almost more than half of the squad injured? Where we're seeing that the whole back line gets decimated, either from injuries and overplaying or from simple injuries through contact, accidental injuries, things of that nature. Disciplinary issues, also a factor as well. But how many times have we seen that back line is scraping to get by? That midfield is scraping players to bring in, right? How many times have we seen situations where we're looking at only having 11 to 12 players available, so those are the 11 to 12 players you have to play, right? It's becoming a pretty common thing with Tottenham. I'm sure we're going to go through our injury woes next season, even though we have no Europe. And who better to come in during those injury woes than somebody who's been here the whole time and has continued to do that, and Ben Davies. My issue is, though, with this logic and thinking is, one, he's old, right? Ben Davies is getting to the point where I think if he's not in top physical condition, he's not going to be able to keep up with this league. He's not going to be able to keep up with the team at Tottenham. Second, he is not good enough to start at Tottenham, to be a backup / alternative. So say, I know we don't have Europe next season, but say we were playing a really small team in a cup tie, and De Zerbi says, I'm going to switch some players out, rest some players, so when we play our next Premier League game, we'll have the best and the brightest ready to go. Ben Davies is not good to be in that alternative squad, that kind of second 11. So to speak. I don't even necessarily think he's good enough to be a reserve. For me, Ben Davies should be nowhere near the squad playing. If you wanted to keep him around so he can get time to earn his coaching badges, get with the backroom staff, start learning the stuff, I get it. I wouldn't have done it, but at least I understand that. If you wanted him, if he was going to play apprentice to everything that goes on outside of being a player here at Tottenham, I get it. I wouldn't have done it, but I get it. But I know this nigga's going to play. He's going to play. Here. And to be honest, I'd prefer him not to. Like, I would prefer for this extension to not be a thing. But simple fact of the matter is, with the history of Tottenham, when we have defenders hurt, whether it's a center back, left back, right back, he's going to be brought into play. And the bigger issue with that is the mentality around the decision. When you have a seasoned player who is clearly not good enough, clearly not going to help progress your team, and he himself is probably looking on past his playing career here at the club, the fact that you sign him to another player contract or extend his player contract that's here already is a sign of, first of all, Tottenham being the same old Tottenham, making bad decisions when it comes to player purchases, contract extension, recruitment, who's good, who should stay, and who should go, right? That we've seen this so many years, time and time again, where we see a player who's clearly not good enough, but for whatever reason, we want to hold on to him. In this instance, for Ben Davies, just because he's been such a good servant to the club, he's been so loyal to us that we feel that we have to reward that loyalty by paying him and offering him a squad spot when we know he's not good enough to be in the squad. And that's the issue. It's that sort of mentality in that decision making that's pretty much led to Tottenham regressing over the years. And ultimately, to be quite honest, Tottenham is going to continue to regress if we sign Ben Davies to an extension. Because he's not going to be good enough to help elevate this team. He's not even good enough, in my opinion, to keep the standards of the team. If you want to finish 17th again, then yes, sign Ben Davies to an extension. But if you're looking to try to have Tottenham progress out of 17th place, and yes, you can say buying one or two players will help you do that, but it's about a mentality. Like we saw in the club statement, requires investment. The executive team and the board, they've laid out their plans and they're committed to it. Is Ben Davies a part of your plan? Is Ben Davies a part of the required investment into the squad? Because I can think of not only players that are Ben Davies' age that are better than him, but there's younger players, either here at Tottenham or around the world, that we can bring in place of Ben Davies. Yes, we may be losing some of the experience that we have on this team, but if that experience is not going to be out there on the field, that experience is not going to actually be contributing to anything to help us win games, to help us get out of the spot we're in, what good is that experience? At that point, it's just memories. Is that point? You remember when Ben Davies did this? You remember when Ben Davies did that? To be quite honest, as a Tottenham fan, I don't. I remember last season when we signed Ben Davies on an extension, or an extension was offered. A lot of fans are saying, yeah, sign Ben Davies. Do you remember his performances the season ago to help get Ange in 5th place? No, I don't remember that. I don't remember any of that shit, to be quite honest. And regardless if he comes in 1 or 2 performances and delivers a 6 out of 10, what good is that? Who cares? You can get an academy player to do a 6 out of 10. And I'm sure the Tottenham fans would cream their pants even more, because it's probably going to be some young player doing that. And they're saying, oh, well, this is a future of Tottenham. The next Ben Davies, for an example, right? So I just think everything around this is wrong. The mentality around this signing, what it will actually mean for the squad, what the actual ramifications of this signing is, and what the club and Ben Davies are trying to do are all counterintuitive to the promises that this club made to us last week. This is last week. This is not something that happened last month. It's not a promise they made last year. And this promise doesn't come into effect next season. It starts right now. As soon as that statement was put out, that's when everything is in effect. So this is counterintuitive to all of that, in my opinion. Just to say, I'm not necessarily sure at the end of this we will offer Ben Davies a contract extension. I know that it's highly possible with the history of Tottenham, the decision making we've had, and how long Ben Davies has been here. And I'm sure the fans will be up for it. The club will be willing to do it because it's a signing they can say they did in the summer, another squad spot that's filled, and it's a feel good factor with the fans. They're saying, job done. Let's move on to something else. Let's not try to recruit for a replacement for Ben Davies, right? Regardless if this is a senior player with experience or you want to bring in another youngster. But let's keep Ben Davies here. Let's keep him here so that he can maybe play in the 1 or 2 games we're going to ask him to play. It's just the mentality and just this whole signing as a whole is completely against what the Enoch family has put out, or I'm sorry, the Lewis family has put out as a statement to the club with their intentions of progressing and fixing things here at the club. Well, you don't fix things by extending a player that's been here through all the bad times. That's literally one of the worst things you can do when you're talking about bringing the club into a new age, progressing the club from where it is, investing in the club's future. Investing in the teams, the academies, the backroom staff, and more. Your first 2 options were the teams and the youth academy. But here you are extending a signing for a player in their mid-30s. He's only getting older, only getting slower, only going to be more susceptible to injury. And here you are extending him, having him take up a spot. But I'm sure at some point in the season, Tottenham fans, when they see Liverpool and Arsenal and Chelsea and Man United, when they're starting their youngsters, right? When they got 16 and 17 and 18-year-old quote-unquote prodigies out there on the field, bopping the ball around, having an impact, making some noise, Tottenham fans are going to be, I wish we could do that with our young players. I wish our youth academy would do that. I wish our ownership would allow the academy to do that. Well, here's a perfect reason of why it doesn't happen. You have a player you can get rid of, an elder player who's been here through all the harsh realities and whatever. He's seen Levy come in, or not Levy come in, but he's seen Levy be fired. He's seen probably the 2 best managers in Conte, Mourinho come in and leave. He's won a trophy with the club. He's been to the finals with the club. He's done it all. He's done it all, seen it all. And you expect him to come in and be part of the future of Tottenham when he's already lived the past and the present here at Tottenham. Let him go. It's okay. Let him fly. Let him be the coach, manager, staff member, whatever he wants to be at Tottenham. Let him be that. And you know what? Because he's been so loyal and everything through the club, just have that position fine-tuned for him. Have it tailor-made for Ben Davies to walk into that office, shake your hand, sign the contract, be a part of the staff, and move on. But this whole making him a player, I don't agree with it. And I think it, again, a sign of times regressing at Tottenham. Now, with that, I find something very interesting because there was another story that came out that kind of confirmed that Tottenham may not be going in the right direction, and that was João Palhinha, the man we signed on loan this season, right? My player of the season, by the way, my player of the season, has now maybe reconsidered his move away from Tottenham. According to Fabrizio Romano, João Palhinha has given his priority to Tottenham as he has a very good relationship with Roberto De Zerbi. The deal can't be agreed with Spurs. His former club, Sporting, are keen and ready to act. So now João Palhinha has come out and has given the priority to Tottenham, saying, Tottenham, if you come and sign me, I'll play for you. If you don't want me, that's fine. There's another club waiting in the wings. The reason why I find this so interesting is because João Palhinha is also an elder player, experienced player. I don't necessarily think is going to be a major part of the big future that's here at Tottenham. But when you're talking about bringing in experience quality, right? Ben Davies, not experience quality. João Palhinha is experience quality, right? He is that experience quality that we've been calling for, that we want as fans. If you ask me, João Palhinha or Ben Davies, I think, to me, in a majority of fans, I think I know who they're going to pick. You're talking about a player who, at his age, was still dominating stats in the Premier League, quote unquote, the most physical and intense league. And this guy was at the top of the tackling stats. Why would you not want him? Right? Oh, hold on. Why would you not? Oh, God. I'm so sorry. This is Teehee. Extension. All right, sorry about that. But thank you. But this guy was dominating the tackling stats, some of the midfield stats at his age. Now he's only getting older, right? So again, I'm not saying we need to lock him down to a 4 or 5 year deal. But if you're talking about a player with experience that can help actually progress this team to the next level, it's João Palhinha, right? I'm not saying this extension needs to be for a long time. Maybe extend them another year or two, right? If we can put something together to where we can get into Europe, maybe we only sign him for that year that we're not in Europe. He has more time to rest. He doesn't have to play in that many games, which leads to him having more of an impact on the field for Tottenham. And even though he's somewhat new, he just came in on loan this season, right? How many times have you seen João Palhinha yelling and screaming with passion? Like he's been here for a while. Versus Ben Davies, who I don't think I've ever seen that from. Even when he's playing in the small moments of the game, he's not very passionate. He's not out there screaming. Granted, he could have a calmer, cooler head when it comes to certain things, but he's not – you don't see or feel that fire from him. You see and feel that fire with João Palhinha. And you can see that in his game. You can see that on the stats. You can see some of the intangible things – on tangible things for this player. But Ben Davies, I can't see that. The intangibles about his experience and leadership, I don't see that. That doesn't correlate to anything for me. 2 seasons, we finished 17th. Other than that Europa League trophy, and maybe the final with Pochettino, but I don't think Ben Davies was any part of that squad. I don't think he was anywhere near that squad. Or at least the starting 11. That helped contribute to that. So you're talking about intangibles with Ben Davies that you could say they're there, but do we have any actual evidence of it being there? No. Versus João Palhinha, where we can pull up the stats right now. He was a beast out there, and he wasn't even starting in every game. He was coming off the bench, doing what he could, not playing for the full 90 minutes, and I get it. He's an elder player. He may not have the legs to do that now. But every time he came on, he made an impact. Not that his performance was good enough. Not that his performance was helped us get by. Not that his performance was good enough for him to stay off the radar. That he's coming in and making an impact. So to me, João Palhinha extension is like, it's duh. Like, how could you think of anything different? How could you want anything different? Especially in the midfield as a 6. Archie Gray, Pape Sarr, Bentancur, Basuma, these guys we played as 6s before, and they didn't do it for us. They didn't have the same impact I think João Palhinha has. And these are players that have been here at Tottenham for years. They've got multiple seasons. João Palhinha comes in on loan and smokes all of their boots. João Palhinha comes in and has scored more goals for the club than those players ever have. More important goals, by the way, as well, especially with the goal that keeps Tottenham in the Premier League. None of those players have stepped up in that way, ever. So to me, this is a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer. And if you ask me, right, as far as the club keeping their promises about investing in the future, this is a move that reflects that. Now, I'm not saying he needs to be the only signing. This can be the only player they sign this summer, and that's it. They need to get more. They need to get more. That's obvious. But you're talking about someone. You're talking about the players that came in here on loan that proved themselves to be good enough here at Tottenham. He has to be number one on the list, especially when you're talking about Kolumani, because that guy is trash. Trash. So Palhinha, yes, I want João Palhinha to be a part of the future at Tottenham. I'd rather João Palhinha spend the next 3 or 4 years of his career here than anywhere else. And ultimately, I think that will be better for Tottenham than saying going to buy this. Tottenham are expected to make a formal move for Hayden Hackney this summer. The midfielder looks certain to leave Middlesbrough, with Crystal Palace expected to make a formal move, and Manchester United also set to join the battle. So you go from two extremes here. You go from one side of the spectrum of a player that's in the latter years of their career, trying to do what they can when they can, to the opposite side. Now, I'm not saying this dude is super duper young. I think he's probably about early to mid 20s. So you're not talking about a player that necessarily needs to that has the next decade to find their game, right? They're pretty much there. Once you're to your early and mid 20s, right, your level as a player is pretty much established. Now, can you get better at your skills, technique, your role in the game, and have a better understanding of that? Yes, you can. So there's always going to be room to grow for players like a Hayden Hackney. But when you're talking about only making it to a certain level, by your mid-20s, right, if you're not at a big club, if you're not cutting it up in the big leagues, it's more than likely safe to assume that level just may be a little bit too much for you. Now, again, he has room to grow, this Hayden Hackney kid. I'm not saying he can't play for a Premier League team, but more often than not, when you see these players that have spent a good part of their career in the Championship, and granted, I'm not sure what his playing career is, so I'm not saying he's been playing at Middlesbrough for the past 5 years, right? He could have just moved there last season, had a great season, and is looking to move on. That could very well be the case. But for me, right, when you talk about buying players that are at this age, that are in the Championship, it's like you had a good season, yes. You are getting looks from Premier League teams, but where do you go from here? Is there you may have some more space to hit your ceiling, but ultimately that ceiling is where, right? Just getting into a Premier League team, just getting you there, which, hey, as far as a player, football players, damn high level, right? You're still talking about probably top 1-2% of players in the world for football making it to that level. But you're talking about Tottenham. You're talking about progressing Tottenham in the team. Is this the player that you want? Or are Tottenham fans falling for it again? You say there's a young player who's hungry, coming out of the Championship, has been making some waves for himself. Do you expect him to come in and make an impact in Tottenham? Not saying come in and have to wait on him to figure himself out and get his footing to do this and to do that. But is he going to come in and make an impact? Now, I haven't watched a lot of Hayden Hackney highlights, so I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the expert on the player or I know this player's future is going to be here at Tottenham. But based off of my experience as a Tottenham fan and based off of, you can maybe say, some recency bias, that the young players from the Championship aren't really proving themselves to be imprinting on the team, aren't really proving themselves to be making an impact on the team. As a matter of fact, it's quite the opposite, right? Save for an Archie Gray and Bergvall. And this is perfect because this will tie into Paulinho as well. When we had the Archie Gray and Bergvalls coming in the midfield, right? They had their good moments, right? They made some good plays. They might have been running up and down the wing, made some good tackles, had a good performance here or there. But when you're talking about when you need performance, when you need to stand up, when you need an impact, regardless what minute of the game, It felt like we got that more from the João Palinhas and the Bentancurs and the Basumas and the James Madisons of the game. Now, again, like I said, you're talking about one side of the spectrum as far as a player versus another side. These are young players, still have room to grow, still have a ceiling versus players that are in their latter years, their experience. They probably seen it all and done it all as far as what they're going to be doing for their career. But when you're talking about Tottenham and where we are now as a club, do we have a lot of room for those players that you're going to have to wait on? Is there a lot of room for those players where they're only going to make an impact out of the 10 games they may play? Let's just say this, right? 10 games Hayden Hackney plays for Tottenham where he starts. Not saying he plays a full 90 minutes, but where he starts, if we sign him, right? How many games do you think he's actually going to have a viable impact where everybody in the stadium, not just fans that are hoping to see something good from him, where it's our team, the opposing team, commentators say, wow, look at him. Look at the impact he's made. He's come on and he's done this, he's done that, and he's looked great while doing it. He's got this assist, this goal, whatever it may mean to the game, he did it. How many games do you expect him to have like that? Not very many, if any at all. And what we'll do as Tottenham fans is we're going to go down the road. If he only has one or two of those games, he had one or two of those games. So that's all the effort, all the promise we needed to see to try to lock him down to a 5 to 6 year contract. Give him 3 to 4 years. Watch where he'll be. We'll give him time. He's young. He just got to Tottenham. Let him be here for a couple of seasons and then go, but De Zerbi, he just got here. He hasn't had enough time with the player. All the players adjusting to the Premier League, it takes at least a season for the player to adjust to the Premier League, which, granted, that's not necessarily a bad excuse, but what I'm saying is, as a whole, right, these players that fans are so keen on waiting on, are those the type of players that you want to buy when your team is struggling and trying to find not only its identity, but its way back into the upper echelon of the league? Do you want to buy a Hayden Hackney and take a risk on that? As well, you have to consider as well, I'm not sure necessarily what position he plays, but if you're talking about buying another number 8, Bergvall, Gray, Pape Sarr, so you already got like 3 players around that same age. I think technically Hayden Hackney is older than all of them. I think Pape Sarr may be the closest one in age, but Bergvall and Gray, they're teenagers. This guy is like 23, 24. So you're talking about adding somewhat another younger player who's inexperienced at Tottenham, not necessarily experienced in that position in the Premier League. You're bringing them in to come play this role and to have an impact when you already have players that are already in a similar role, at a similar stature, in a similar point in their career, already there. On top of the fact that there's youth academy midfielders that are probably yet to see what the inside of the stadium looks like, that are probably yet to train with the first team at all yet. So is this really the signing that we need to make at this time? Is this the signing that will help push Tottenham to progress where we need to go? Or is this simply a signing to appease the fans that want to see young players? Is this a signing that will appease the board members and the executives because they're going to say, we're going to buy this player at this price, and with his ceiling, he's going to cost this much in this amount of years, and we can sell him then? Like, is he hitting what Roberto De Zerbi wants? As in, is he going to come and make an impact on the way he wants to play? which Roberto De Zerbi, mind you, he's done good in the time he's come in, but let's not forget, he's got a lot of work to do in the summer, right? He put a lot of this work to the side just to give him the space to try to save the team and keep us in the Premier League. But now that we know that we're in the Premier League, we got to make sure we bring all that crap back that we pushed off to the side and make sure that we have this handled before we get into next season. So is Hayden Hackney really the guy for Tottenham? I say all this because, hold on, and we're about to wrap this up. Hold up. Where is it? Because of this story here. And I think there was another story that went along with it. Well, here's technically the story, right? But this, right? Tottenham are understood to be aiming to sign a big midfielder for Spurs head coach Roberto De Zerbi upon the summer transfer window. Now, I get this is just a rumor, right? Coming from whatever journalist. But if I am to believe this, which I'm under the impression we do, that we are going to try to do this. We usually try to have some sort of marquee, some sort of big name signing, right? That serves as the face or the figurehead of the amazing summer Tottenham is looking to have, right? But if we are looking for a big midfielder, surely it cannot be this guy. It can't be this guy. If that is the big name midfielder signing that we're going to make, that will only show you where this team is going to be next season. And I guarantee you it's going to be in a similar position to where we were this season and the season before that. So, or I should say last season and then the season before that. So is this Hayden Hackney signing really what we need right now? Is this really the guy? I say no, right? I don't think this is a signing that we need at this time. If we were in a club like Man United's position, why do you even say Man United position? Because they're trying to build towards something. If we were Arsenal, Man City, I can even put Liverpool on that list because they're building towards something. Really, the clubs that have already kind of established themselves as title challengers in every competition they get, these are the signings they can afford to make. They can afford to take a punt on a Hayden Hackney if it doesn't work out because they know at least 80 to 90% of their squad is up to that level, can come in and take the place and be a part and do what Hayden Hackney was brought in to do, right? But for a team like Tottenham, where we're struggling to find our identity right now, you have fans divided saying, oh, we're supposed to be winning big trophies. Oh, we're only supposed to be in cups and doing well in cups. So, oh, we're not even really have to compete for anything as long as we play, the fearless and bold football. That's some fans, that's all they care about, right? So even in the identity, we're torn, let alone the style of play, how we want to do it, what results we want to achieve, where we want to be in the next 5 years, right? A club like that, a club like Tottenham, doesn't have the time or space to take a punt on a signing like this. That's just the truth. So if you ask me again, not a smart signing. Extending Ben Davies, not a smart extension. Signing Polina, a solid extension, a good move. Again, not saying this is the end-all, be-all for the summer, but if you're talking about starting your summer off with signing Andy Robertson, Marco Senesi, and extending João Polina, I would say, okay, that is a step in the right direction. Even though I don't necessarily think Andy Robertson and Marco Senesi are going to, quote-unquote, save the club, right? You're adding that depth that you would want in a team that's not only trying to find themselves, but are trying to move forward from what they were. If you add a Marco Senesi, a progressive passing center back, if you add Andy Robertson, again, experience, not necessarily, again, going to be one of the people you rely on, but as far as coming in and doing a job, right? As far as coming in and doing a job, I trust Andy Robertson way more than I trust Ben Davies. That's a fact. That's a super duper fact, right? So let's just with those two signings and then adding João Palhinha on top of that, I think that's a solid start. Not saying it's the best start, not even necessarily saying it's a strong start, but it's a start. It's a good start. I would love for us to start focusing more on the top end, to start getting some wingers, start getting some attackers, some strikers, maybe even another number 10. Now that we know that both 10s have a ACL that's made out of hamburger, like we're gonna need that depth in those attacking positions, because what we're missing pretty much all of the season is a goal scorer. We were missing a goal scorer. So at the end of the day, right? Are Tottenham keeping their promises to fans? Are the club and the board doing what they said they were going to do? As soon as the season ended and they started releasing the statements to reel us back in on what on not only paying for like season tickets, but going to games, buying back in to what the product the Enoch and Lewis family have presented as Tottenham Hotspur. When they're trying to reel us back into that, are these the signings that are going to do it for you? A Hayden Hackney, extending João Palhinha, Marco Senesi, and Robertson. These are the questions that need to be asked, need to be examined, need to be looked at all throughout this summer. And as a Tottenham fan, you need to be able to engage critically with that. You can't just hype it up and say, oh, well, this player wants Tottenham, so I want them. This player wants to be at the club. They must have a love of the club like I do. All right, so now they're my best friend. Or now I automatically like them. Or this player's young, and I see him running around. There's so much sweat on his shirt. He's got grass stains all over his socks and his pants. You know what? I like that. I like that on young players. I like when young players do that and try hard. Like it's cool. It's nice. But are they having an impact? Are we progressing? Are we moving forward? So that's something fans need to be engaging with critically, I think, through this summer. Listen, don't believe the hype. Don't fall for the tricks, right? When news comes out that the money's drying out, we can only make a couple more offers, right? When we're not doing anything, right? Because remember, this is a World Cup year. So when the team says there's just going to be a blackout window for all of the World Cup, keep that in mind with the promises that were pretty much sent out to us day one after last season ended. But the promises from Charrington, the Lewis family, even Roberto De Zerbi himself, keep this all in mind when the rumors come out. Players that we actually do sign and lift up the shirt, right? Keep all that in mind throughout this summer, and then judge where we should be, how we're going to do next season. And if you're honestly judging it and saying we're not going to get much higher, right? Which we finished 17th, all right? We're already on the floor. So if you say we're going to finish 15th, yes, that's an improvement. But is that where Tottenham needs to be right now? Do we need to be in 15th? Or do we need to be back in the top 10, back in the top 8, back in the top 6, where we really are supposed to be? And most importantly, can we get back in the top 4? Can we achieve top 4? And if you don't think we're anywhere close to whatever you choose or whatever you think where we need to be, then that should be something you use as an indictment on the club of broken promises, lies, cheating, deceit, arrogant, whatever negative word you want to put, that should be in your indictment against the club. So I just wanted to go through that. Just wanted to have that kind of as my final message of the night. But hey, we're going to end it here, folks. Listen, I appreciate you guys being a part of this live. Before you go, like this live stream, subscribe to the YouTube channel, share the content, friends and family members, co-workers. Let them know about De La Spurs, what we got going on. Friday, 7 p.m. /7:15 It's depending on when I can get this stream going after work. But Monday and Fridays, we're always going live. So tell them to tune in. Tell them to lock in. I really appreciate it. Listen, 1 away from 10, folks. 1 away from 10. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. I would appreciate it. Listen, this is all that we have for tonight, folks. I really appreciate your times this Monday night. Again, halfway through June. I hope the year is going well for you. We will be back live on Friday. I'm sure there's going to be some more transfer rumors to talk about and discuss. Hopefully, we see a player that we've actually, I'm not sure when the actual summer window opens. I'd have to look that up. So I don't think we can have anybody lifting up the shirt this week. But whenever we do have that window, whatever we got going on between now and Friday, we'll be discussing that. So until then, peace out and come on, you Spurs.